2023 has got to be the best year for games in a really, really long time. I think almost every month had at least one game that could be debated as Game of the Year, and I didn't get to play a lot of them. It's not like I was prioritizing any specific game either. My financial situation made it so I can only afford a handful of games this year. So instead of doing the arbitrary top 10 best games like I did last year, I'm just going to talk about a few games I played this year in no particular order and why I absolutely love them. With that said, 3 games I will not be talking about is Resident Evil 4 Remake, bombrushcyberfunk, and hifirush. This is because, well, I already have full videos about these games on my channel that you can watch right now. To sum it up though, RE4 Remake is the perfect remake I didn't know I wanted, bombrushcyberfunk is the perfect Jet Set Radio follow-up that we deserved, and hifirush is my game of the year. I absolutely love that game, it became an instant classic to me. 2 other games I've played that I won't be talking about are Mortal Kombat 1, which I really thought I would get into more, but honestly, the kind of mess story and overpriced DLC, the only thing I came back to was the adventure mode, and even then, that got kind of old after a while. So I mean, I like the gameplay and the characters, I just wished I liked them more. Probably should have just got Street Fighter 6 and Super Mario Wonder. A really fun game that has a lot of shakeups to the gameplay and is the only Mario game I've seen in a while that actually lets it have an art style, whoa. But it is still just a Mario game at its core. A really good one, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't say it's exactly a game changer. Highly recommend this one for Mario fans though. And here are a handful of games that I have not played but intend to. Armored Core 6, Lies of P, Final Fantasy 16, the remakes of Super Mario RPG and Dead Space. I do own these games now thanks to the holidays, but I just have not had the time to play them. On the other hand, we got Alan Wake 2, Street Fighter 6, Pizza Tower, Slay the Princess. I don't own these games, but hopefully I will in the near future. And I'm sure I've forgotten a lot of others, but there's a lot of games this year that I really wish I could have played and intend to, but just didn't have the time. Down the line, I might do a follow-up 2023 games catch-up video of some of these. But for now, let's finally talk about the games from 2023 that I actually did play.
Izuna drops!
As a huge fan of Spider-Man since a young age, I absolutely adored the Insomniac Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales games once I played them. So, naturally, I was extremely excited for Spider-Man 2. And it didn't really disappoint me at all, it just made me wish that they pushed the game further than what we already had. Narratively, I think the game does exactly what it should, but what makes it work is how perfect the renditions of these characters are. Peter, Mary Jane, Miles, Genki, Haley, all are a fun bunch of goobers that are dweebs until shit gets serious. But now we also have Harry Osborn to play off of Peter, which if I'm being honest, the relationship almost comes off more romantic than just being close friends, but it works in the game's favor. Though it does make Peter and Miles' relationship take a huge back seat, which I think is the biggest downfall of the game. Peter and Miles play off each other so well, every scene they have together, dramatic or otherwise, are always really fun, and I wish we got more of that. But still, the characters are probably the strongest part about this game. More specifically when the conflicts and villains show up. This rendition of Sandman is pretty good, though the result for collecting all these weird mind crystal things is basically just a thanks, Spider-Man. But Kraven? Man, Kraven was so cool in this game. It is a little lame that he exits the story kind of anticlimactically, I'll keep that a little vague, but it made sense for his character's motivation at least. And this rendition of Venom is a pretty good one. Honestly, the whole symbiote suit storyline is done exceptionally well here. It feels fresh from the renditions we've seen in the past. The gameplay is also rock solid. Peter gets to use a bunch of abilities with his robot spider arms in the symbiote suit, and Miles gets a variety of Venom abilities in both lemon and blue raspberry flavors. Hey, they never acknowledge that Miles calls his lightning powers Venom, and Venom is also just a character? I just noticed that. Along with the admittedly less than what we had before gadgets that can be used as environmental factors during the battle, the combat is fast-paced and snappy. Of course, we do have stealth options which are also fun, but my issue with Spider-Man 2 is that all of this stuff is good, but it was also good with the previous 2 games. They just kind of put what was good in Spider-Man and Miles Morales together, which is ideal, but the amount of content in this game is about the size of the first Spider-Man game. I platinumed this game way sooner than I thought I would. I really had thought this would be the size of 2 Spider-Men, but it's just the size of 1. Even the costumes feel kind of lacking because they're mostly the costumes from the last 2 games, and Peter's are mostly just movie outfits. Now they do have alternate color schemes, which is cool, but now we have less costumes overall than what we did before. Most of the goofy-ass ones are gone too, like where the hell is Bombastic Bagman? I'm sure they're saving some of these for the eventual DLC that they alluded to in the side missions, which I am excited for. But I think this is once again a really damn good Spider-Man game for Spider-Man fans. If you haven't played the first one, I'd say play that one first and then play Miles Morales and 2 if you end up really liking it. Whereas the first game felt like they finally got how Spider-Man can be fully realized in a game, Spider-Man 2 kind of feels like they did it again, really well I might add. But I really hope that the DLC or the foreshadowed third game can push this series beyond what it has been since the first game. Rip Peter's old face.
I'm surrounded by menaces, but J. Jonah Jameson is not going anywhere, you hear me? I'm not going anywhere! Wait, where am I going? Where am I going?
I I may have said it before, but I am a huge fan of the Like a Dragon series. I'm talking all-time favorites here, right up there with Metal Gear, SMT, Devil May Cry, Bubsy, and I've been all for the new directions that the series has gone, with the mainline games going turn-based and the side series Judgment carrying on the classic gameplay style. But when I saw that the series' previous protagonist Kiryu was getting one last hoorah in Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who stole his name, even though his character was in the perfect place during the events of Like a Dragon 7, I couldn't help but be extremely hyped for it. And yeah, if you're like me and are a longtime fan of the series, then this is a must-play. The ending almost made me cry, dude. It really brings together everything the series has been building up for Kiryu's character. Now, that being said, the major plot of the game is fine, but in the grander scheme of the series, it doesn't seem to matter too much. I mean, if they bring the characters introduced here back in 8, sure, at least we got to know who they are. But from what we know going into 8, given that Kiryu is going to be the co-protagonist with the new main guy of the series, Ichiban, Gaiden doesn't really change anything, but it does take advantage of the fact that we get time to see how Kiryu has changed emotionally since we last played as him in 6. Which, I mean, isn't much, but you at least get to see how hard he's trying to not hate his new existence as a non-existent shadow operative. Oh, guys, look! When you smoke, your meter goes up. We better smoke as much as possible. There can't possibly be any negative side effects to excessive smoking. The gameplay of Gaiden is a nice mix of Judgment's crowd control and Like a Dragon's brawling roots, which is because that's the two styles Kiryu can use. Yakuza style, where he basically plays as he did back in the previous games, maybe slightly different, and Agent style, which is a bit faster and technical along with a bunch of gadgets you can upgrade and use, like Spider-Man's webs, Obama's drones, those rocket boots from Terraria, and a cigarette that explodes. You can also dress up Kiryu. That's fun. Actually, the biggest thing about any of these games is the side content, and if I'm being honest here, while I haven't done a whole lot of them yet, the side quests are really fun, like some of the best in the series. And the real meat here is the arena mode. Every game has these, but here, we get to create the Joryu clan. Find a bunch of tough losers like whoever this nobody is, and fight alongside them in massive battles against enemy clans. It's really fun creating different groups that you can also play as, making this probably the most playable characters in any Like a Dragon game. Being shorter than the usual Like a Dragon game, I'd say Gaiden is perfect for fans of the series long time or even just the last few. And if you haven't been able to get into the recent games in the series, I'd say give this one a go. It's got stuff classic fans will love. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is my favorite Zelda game, which may be lame to fans of the series, but it's the one Zelda game that held my attention to the end. And Tears of the Kingdom is difficult to talk about because it's somehow both weaker and stronger than Breath of the Wild. Let me get the weaker part out of the way first. The narrative and mission structure is not nearly as good as Breath of the Wild, which is funny since Tears of the Kingdom literally did the same freaking thing as Breath of the Wild. Well, after this really long, boring-ass walk and talk at the start, you wake up in a cave only to be stuck on an island that you can't leave without finding 4 different abilities to manipulate physics objects in the world. Ooh, but you get the last one without going through a dungeon though! Even though right afterwards you have to go to a dungeon where you use that ability to finish it like the other 3. And once you get off the island, you have to go to 4 points in the maps where you find 4 warriors of the different elements and races, 3 of which are the same ones as before, and after which you can go and take on Ganon, who's located under Hyrule Castle now. Oh shit, I guess it's completely different now. Like, yeah, okay, sure, different stuff happens, but I literally played Breath a week before Tears came out. Yes, I will refer to the games like that from now on. And it felt like I was playing the same game. Doesn't help that not only does it look the same, but we're also doing the same copy-paste looking dungeons all over the map and finding the same 1 million Koroks all over the map just to get small returns until we can actually upgrade something. That was my least favorite part of Breath, and I thought Tears would fix it, but they doubled down? They couldn't at least half the dungeons and make them longer and harder, and make each one give you a health or stamina upgrade? And all for what? A story where Zelda goes missing and you need to find her. That's it! Ganon being resurrected as Ganondorf was definitely cool, and he has an amazing presence to him, but the rest of the surrounding game is just like, fine? The twist is easy to predict, especially since you, much like the last game, have to find fragmented memories all over the world that tell you about stuff that happened before the game, except this time it's a linear narrative that you can find out of order, so you can spoil yourself if you're not careful. Okay, all I've been doing is complaining here, but that's because now that all that is out of the way, holy fuck, I love this game! The major selling point to most people is that the new physics abilities allow you to attach stuff to stuff. And now that there are objects like wheels, engines, springs, cannons, wings, fans, rockets, you can make vehicles with anything you want. Hell, you can kind of make anything. Bridges, walls, ladders. It really feels like the possibilities are endless. You can even attach stuff to your weapons. Make blunt objects into sharp weapons. Turn swords into magic wands. Make your shield a jetpack. There's tons of variety here. Even though I feel like the narrative is weak in comparison to the first game, the gameplay alone made me want to push on to the end just to see what else I could do. I don't think it's Game of the Year worthy for me, but Tears of the Kingdom is definitely some of the funnest I've had playing a game this year. Also, Pura is so fucking hot now, Jesus Christ, Link, forget Zelda, here's a real princess! Oh, Jesus, what could I possibly say about Baldur's Gate 3 that hasn't already been said? Everyone has already talked about how almost every possible path to do pretty much anything has been accounted for. The amazing writing, voice acting, gameplay, mechanics, how much they want to fuck a story in.
You son of a...
What could I possibly add to any of that? Probably not much, but I'll try my best. If you're like me, you've probably never even heard of the Baldur's Gate series before this game's release. So jumping into 3 with my very limited D&D experience, creating a character was very, very intimidating. But after the game proper started, I learned the mechanics, got to the main world after the exceptional intro segment, and everything just clicked. It took a minute to figure out how to make the most of each of my turns, but once I figured it out, this game just sucked me in. I sat down to record footage of both my main file I played beforehand and a new game just to show the intro segments, and I lost entire afternoons on both. So what makes this game so good? Well, first off, the amount of depth this game has with every aspect of it is crazy. Now, a lot of people are over-exaggerating how many ways there are to solve certain problems, but there are usually, at a minimum, a handful of ways to solve any given conflict. Through either a line of dialogue you get just because you're specifically a half-orc monk, or because during combat you're able to shove a high-level enemy off a cliff. Any variable you have to your character will be applied to almost every interaction in this game. And there is so much. You can have one experience, and then someone else can have a completely different experience just because they're a gnome. Plus, the actual characters, world, voice acting, absolutely sublime. The band of misfits you gather up are all an absolute joy, who have such expansive stories that change as the plot goes on, and they're also active participants in the main plot as well, so you get a lot of dialogue from them. And they all have their uses in combat. I can't think of a single one who I'd consider useless. Gale the wizard, Shadowheart the cleric, Astorian the rogue, Will the warlock, Lae'zel the fighter, Karlach the barbarian, all just pleasant characters in their own ways. And if you do find any of them useless, you can change their class, so really your options are limitless. And man, the combat is so much fun. It's all position based and plays on D&D rules with real simulated dice rolls and different charges that require you to take short and long rests. And every class really does feel like a different gameplay style all to their own. Man, this game is just great. I love this game. I know for a fact that throughout the rest of 2024, I'll keep coming back to this game. Hifirush is my game of the year, make no mistake about that. That game speaks to me like no other game from recent years. But Baldur's Gate 3 is most definitely the best game from this year, and I recommend that everyone plays it. And that's 2023. I don't think we'll get another year quite this good. Yes, we had a Forspoken, Redfall, and Gollum here or there, but there was way more good stuff than bad. Oh shit. But, be that as it may, 2024 is definitely going to have some bangers. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Tekken 8, all happening within the first quarter. Boy oh boy, we got some good stuff to look forward to.
I'm here, baby.
Who are you talking to?
Huh?